This is the CreaseCast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to your Friday edition of the CreaseCast. I am joined by Jacob New once again today. He's back wearing other podcasts merch, but we don't mind.
Hey, we're keeping it local.
Yes,
we're not
local.
We're not going, big box. I'm not even going to say the company.
That'd be really funny if you I will say it would be a real heel, like a really good like WWE heel move if you just showed up with like a hat that just says Bell on it.
Yeah, no,
like,
it's
like just for like the phone store. It's not even for like TSN. It's just a Bell.
It would be really funny is if the Whitecaps all of a sudden just started selling Bell hats. And then I just literally, I'm wearing a Whitecaps hat, and then I turn around and it actually has Bell on the front, and you're like, what is this? What has happened?
I don't even think Bell's gonna sponsor the Whitecaps for that much longer because they kicked them to the curb on the radio side of things.
Yeah,
and I don't.
There's
think
a lot of today. There was actually a big move at Rogers. I don't know if you read that from YYZ Sports.
Like Sportsnet wise, I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll talk about it, I'm sure, after the show.
We'll talk about it later. Yeah,
because this is like, generally speaking, we might be media nerds, but the people who listen to the show, generally speaking, are not as big of media nerds as we are. They are here for the hockey. They're here for the Canucks and their moral victories over against the Tampa Bay Lightning. They lost actually 4-2, but they got a moral victory out of it. But like an actual one, not like last time. This isn't like last time where we were just like, oh, they shot okay. They're not. They've only lost 8 of 9. So, but now they're actually doing okay. Like, you look at that game against Tampa, and they put up an actually really good effort. Like they clearly were not going to be the better team in that game.
No,
like there was no doubt in anyone's mind. It's like, okay, clearly the Canucks are not as good as the Tampa Bay Lightning, the two-time defending Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning. But you like to see a good effort, and they put up a good effort. Like the overall play from the entire group, like whether or not like certain lines were having trouble scoring or not, they all were playing well, and they put up a really good effort in this game.
Mm-hmm. No, pretty much. Like I'll be honest here. I think 2 periods. I saw the first period and the third period, and I missed the second, but I did catch both goals by the fourth line.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, essentially, like you said, some of those lines aren't clicking, especially in the state of Florida for whatever reason. We had goals from Lamico in Florida. I think Motte scored in Florida as well, but either way, he scored in Tampa. And Highmore. Highmore scored the first goal in Tampa.
Matthew Highmore's first of the year.
He had a nice celly for that too.
Yeah.
For his 1 goal of the season, it's going to be his only goal, calling it now.
Jesus, really? I think maybe he's got 1 or 2 more in him. I don't know. We'll see.
I think that's just my hot take. Matthew Highmore is
your hot take. You're gonna
my hot take is
poor Matthew Highmore.
I'm sorry, Matthew Highmore is good for 1 goal. That's.
How many did he have last year? I think he had like 2 in the short time span.
I don't know.
He's no Tim Schaller.
He got hot at the end of last season. I do remember that. He was scoring like 4 goals in like 7 games, and people were like, "Oh, this trade for Gaudette and Highmore, it looked good."
Yeah,
and I was like, "No, that's still poor asset management." Oh, we going gauntlet here?
I not yet. That was an accidental press button. I was preparing it.
For those on the audio, we activated the gauntlet a little early, but we're gonna get to it.
Yes, yes. I mean, we might as well get to it right now. I think it's pretty clear who it was. There was only one. Well,
there's one.
I guess there were 2. But there can only be one. Demko is always there. Demko's always in the conversation. NHL All-Star, Thatcher Demko, which like we'll get into that later for sure. But clearly it's Tyler Motte. Like there's no doubt about it. It's Tyler freaking Motte for the greatest goal a Canuck has scored probably in the last like 8 years. Is it the best goal in the entire since the Sedin era?
Yeah,
like it's gotta be. It's gotta be.
I'm trying to think of like goals there was like the Horvat one, I think in the playoff bubble that he did the move again. I think it was against St. Louis, which was pretty good because that was on the highlight reels for a while. But before that, I can't even think of a single goal in that whole Benning era that really stands out.
There were
And
some
then
nice ones, but
there were
like,
nice ones, but like nothing where you literally your jaw drops, and it drops even farther because it's Tyler flipping Motte.
yeah, it's Connor Bedard's favorite player, which was
Yes,
I
confirmed.
tweeted that out, and a lot of people that video, like that tweet in the video, because I put the highlight up. I mean, it's a gorgeous goal. Like it's the
Beautiful.
kind of, it's a Trevor Zegras-esque goal where he's just like, he's literally got like on the short, like he has no room on that corner. 3 minutes to go. It's pretty gutsy to even attempt that shot in a game where you're down by 2 with 3 minutes to go. And he kind of just was like, "Oh, I don't have the time to put the puck to try and get to corral it, turn, and put the shot on net by that point. So I might as well try and put it through my legs and up over the corner." And of course, Andrei Vasilevsky is not expecting it in any way, shape, or form. And you just see him. You see like the camera pan over to Vasilevsky, and he's kind of just like, huh? Like you can see the kind of like the gears turning in his head a little bit. Like, what just happened? I'm sorry.
That was the camera work was great, and also Shorthouse's call on that was great too, because I think I was paying attention to the game, but also helping cook dinner. And like I looked up and I saw like it's hard from the camera angle to see that it was between the legs because the goalie's partially in the way. But from Shorty's, like he's like, "What unbelievable! Did Mott just do that?" And I was like, what happened?" And then I saw the replay and I was like, "Ooh." And then they zoomed in on Vasilevsky pretty much right after he'd scored, and he's just like, he didn't believe it. So
yeah, he had no idea it was coming. It was and that makes it was a gorgeous goal. It was the best. It was a fantastic goal. I think the only goal I can think of that really like comes close to it is almost it's kind of a different deal. Like it's one of those, like it was when Besser dumps the puck in purposely, it hits the boards and it banks right to Pettersson, who shoots it. Or no, other way around. Pedersen Pedersen banks it off the wall. Besser slaps it in past Grubauer. Like that's a
set play. That was really good.
That was a gorgeous set play, and I remember like Besser just being like, "Oh my god, you actually did that!" Like because he was just as excited about it as everybody else. And it is it was that kind of a game for the Canucks where the fourth line was stepping up and playing and pulling their weight. Like again, Jim Rutherford had kind of challenged them publicly about that. Like the whole, we're not seeing that kind of we're not seeing our bottom 6 players stepping up to lead offensively, where it's all been the top 6 guys. And they got that. They've gotten that so far on this road trip. Now, the problem is the top 6 isn't scoring, so they can't seem to get both groups kind of going at the same time, which is a little concerning. But again, like we talked about this on the last show, going over the Florida game, like a game where they were, I would say, pretty good too. Like they were,
besides
they were better in this game. They were better in this game than they were in the Panthers game. It's very much a case of like, look, because of how great the turnaround has been for the Canucks in the last month, it's kind of like as long as you don't see any sort of like steps backwards in progress wise, it's hard to be really all that disappointed with the effort. Like it's and this was something that I kind of talked about a lot when they were in the playoff bubble as well. The whole idea of like, look, you weren't really even supposed to be in this conversation at the beginning of the year. So the second you beat Minnesota, you're already kind of like ahead of the 8 ball.
You're playing with the house's money at this point. And
anything you do here is extra. Anything here you do is extra icing on the cake. There's nothing you can do, even if you get like swept out immediately in 4 straight, for you to ruin that. You've gotten you got what you came for.
And they played a heck of a playoff run there. Well, 6 games St. Louis, 7 games to Vegas with a 3-1 comeback. They lose that series, but that,
even before
progress.
the Demko game, I was like, yep, if they lose game 5, I am not disappointed. They did their job. They did what they came to do, and that's fine.
As a fan, you feel a little disappointed, but you realize, you're going to always reach that point.
You're always going to be disappointed when they don't win in the playoffs. Like that's just part of it. But like, if you're looking at it from like, it's not like with Toronto, for example, where like they won where the first year they could kind of, when they lost to like Washington, in the Matthews era, they could
Mhm.
kind of go, well, that's a big deal. We got to the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. I'm not going to
Yeah.
complain. And then, but then after that, the expectations sit a little differently. So when
Yeah.
they lose, then it's actually disappointing.
They
So with
peaked a little
Vancouver, it's
early
kind of
with
like
the
that.
Washington. Yeah. They came up a
Yeah.
little early. The expectations were like, hey, we're in this. They lose in 6. Big deal. They come back. And since they've reached that point, every every April, May is always an enjoyable time for non-Leafs fans. So
Yeah. It's and with the Canucks, like, yeah, that's kind of where they're at right now. They are not in a spot regular season wise where it's like, oh, I'm not gonna be super disappointed about watching them lose to the defending Stanley Cup champions or the team leading the league in points. Like,
yeah.
there's nothing they can do with the way that they've been playing, as long as the effort is there and they're playing and they're putting up a really solid effort, like fight up against those teams, which they have been. I think they've been punching above their weight a lot better
Yeah.
than I expected going into this road trip.
Mhm.
If they keep going on the path, not only do I think they might surprise a couple teams here and there, excuse me, but I think they're looking a lot better future, like long term, in the short
Yeah.
term and long term future than they were even like say right before this road trip started.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting because as everyone knows, Rutherford is in charge. They're still looking for a GM. Yeah, there's been a lot of discussion this week about who's in that. Patrick Olivan was the front runner. Today, I think they were talking about Sean Burke emerging as one of those top guys as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna say right now I'm not a huge fan of that move for a variety of reasons. I mean, I think it doesn't take a long Google search to see that there's a bit of a not so great history for Sean Burke in terms of certain aspects of his life that I don't think the Canucks should want around them right now, especially just now more than ever. You've got to be making sure that you're bringing in good people to your organization. And I don't know, I just look at the kind of the past there and I'm skeptical about that with Sean Burke. But there are lots of candidates like Patrick Olivan has been brought up. I think today somebody was mentioning who was it? I'm blanking on the name, but another former kind of NHL player.
I'm looking around. Give me
Pat
1
Verbeek,
second.
I think it was. I think
Verbeek. Yeah, Verbeek was the one. Yeah.
I think Drancer talked about it on his show today. I think he was wondering where that name came from. Obviously, I am still very much in the mindset of Luongo. Luongo needs to get an interview, and if they're not giving him one, they've missed the best candidate. But there are other options out there. I'm interested to see where they go. But yeah, looking at what Rutherford wants, I think you've got to. I think you've got to expect that he's going to look at this road trip as even if they do really, really well, he's not going to go run in and be like, well, you guys are doing just fine. We're going to go all in for the playoffs this year. I don't think
boys.
It would take a very, very good road trip. By which I mean points wise, they'd have to have won a lot of these games, and they're already sitting at about where you would expect them to, in a sense. I think they have a chance of winning at least 2, but that's going to mean coming out of this road trip 400, under 500 on for the trip, which isn't good enough for how much ground you have to make up, right?
Yeah.
It's good for what they were at the beginning, where they where they probably would have lost all of them. But I think right now, with how much time you have left and how much runway there is, it really is just about, well, how close can you get, and how close can you get with us probably selling a few pieces off to try and help you next year when we have a lot more money and are in a much better position, COVID wise, financial wise, everything about that. Next year is a much bigger year for the Canucks to a degree than the rest of this season is.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, pre-road trip expectations, Rutherford had already done an interview where he said, he looked at this team and he's like, they're not he never directly said it, but it was very implied, much that it's like, these guys, they're not Stanley Cup contenders.
And he's right.
And he's right. A lot of people like to be positive, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, you kind of have to just look at the picture and look at the performance and be like, they're not, unless the Cinderella story happens, it's not happening.
Yeah, there's a big difference between being a Stanley Cup contender and being a potential playoff team. Like those are two completely different metric bars. Like you can be a Minnesota Wild, a team that makes the playoffs with regularity, but if you're just going to bow out in the first round, what's the point? You want to be a team that's consistently thought of as, oh, this team is going to has a more than 50% shot of winning this thing kind of thing. You want people to be like, yeah, picking you at the beginning of the season as the favorites to win it all. And that's not where the Canucks are right now. And that's fine. It does not, it takes a while to get that done. And sometimes you've got about 8 years of work to undo, of damage to undo before you can get there. And they've got some pieces here that like they could move or they could work with to help them long term. And I mean, like the play last night, like you look at the way the Canucks are playing, I don't know. I honestly think that they're in a pretty good spot in terms of like the core group and what they've got going for them. A couple of guys have been struggling of late. That is a problem. Like, Höglander, I don't think has been as good of late. But Coulson's looking okay. I like what I'm seeing a little bit from him, but he's still like been a bit quiet. But he's a rookie, so I'm not gonna worry too much there. Obviously, Pettersson being the big one. That's the big thing. Is just kind of like, this season's not going your way. So what can you do to focus for next year?
No, it will be interesting going to the closer to the deadline. The deadline's a little late this year. I think it's in like mid to late March. So they do have more time at least to evaluate. I think Rutherford, like once this road trip is over, he will have made up like a pretty general idea of this is what the team is. And these are our targets going in forward. So he's going to evaluate the team's performance afterwards, be like, these guys' stocks are going up. If a trade comes along where it's a hockey trade that makes the team better going forward beyond this year, they'll make that. It's not going to be like, oh, like a lot of people, it's very interesting looking at the discourse on Canucks Twitter, because it's very much almost like two sides where it's like you sell everything and start over. This is a new fresh with Rutherford, Benning's gone, and other people are being like, oh no, like this team went 8-0-1 with Boudreau. We got to go all in. I think you can still very level-headed and just say, look, it's awesome that they had that run. It's a great bump from the new coach. It's a great culture, but at the same time, like they're not going to be seated very high in the playoffs. If they make it in, it's a wild card spot. So you got to be like, hey, going into February, let's see how this team does. If there's guys where trades are out there, if there's a market for someone like Tyler Motte, given that goal against Tampa, and if his performance stays relatively stable over the next month, there might be a good draft market in terms of getting a pick for him. So
there's room to fix here as far as like the rest of the road trip is concerned. I think the Canucks are primed to beat a couple teams and catch a couple teams by surprise. Like, I mean, they've got Carolina in the morning, 10 a.m.
morning
start.
Games.
Morning game against. I'm not a fan of. I'm
don't
not
like
a fan
them.
Of the morning
I
games.
was gonna say that. Don't like them.
They're the.
I'm gonna miss both of them actually.
Oof, I'm sorry to hear that. Well,
I got work on Saturday, and then I have a prior commitment on Sunday morning. So yeah, it sucks because I was like, why couldn't one of them just be at like 3 o'clock? It's 6 in Carolina or Washington. Why not?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, Hockey Night in Canada is concerning and whatever they wanted, but
it could have been hometown hockey. Come on.
Hometown hockey on you mean the everyone's favorite Sunday tradition that definitely I hadn't forgotten existed.
What are you talking about? Everyone knows hometown hockey is still a thing, right?
I completely forgot about it.
I don't know. I think Tara Sloan's
it's on
still
Mondays now. Yeah,
they might have changed the date. Actually, that's a good point. Yeah, but for the first like 6 to 7 years of the Rogers deal, it was always Sunday night. Not to say it was never a tradition in my house, but I just knew it was a thing. So
yeah, I remember some of them, like, again, because those started right when the Canucks were at their worst, and it was like one of those things where it's like, oh boy, Canucks Detroit on a Sunday afternoon.
You'd be like,
what an exciting game.
It'd be like Rob McLean's like, join us from Yorkton, Saskatchewan as the Canucks take on the Detroit Red Wings at 4 p.m. Sunday afternoon. And everyone's like, Okay.
Remember this really obscure band? They're here. Like that's the whole.
You remember this old Canadian band that was a thing in the 1997? We got them performing right behind us as we talk hockey with a crowd of like 8 people behind them.
So
from
Steve,
a small town.
So Dave, what are you up to these days? Well, I'm a manager at a Foot Locker. Like that's kind of
How's
what
business going?
I feel bad, but like that's kind of what hometown hockey turned into. It kind of was just like this,
I mean,
here's these really obscure NHL players that you don't really remember, and
from this one small town. We're gonna talk to him, and we're gonna show you it's like what to do in this place, Manitoba. Well, there's a convenience store over there. The Walmart is an hour away. We do have a rink, but the cooling is broken. But it's so cold that we don't need to. We don't need to heat it.
Yeah, it's like they're just like deer just hanging out on the ice in the background. Hey, get out, shoot! Like, I mean, some of them are outside. Like they have a couple outdoor rinks up there. Like
there are some places that were really cold.
Yeah. Either way, hometown hockey, like it just kind of turned into like this thing where it's like, it exists, but you're not like, it's not any more like a bigger part of your schedule than say just the regular Wednesday night games are.
Their focus at least should be just Wednesdays and Saturdays in terms of a national audience. You just keep it, not even Wednesdays. Like that was, I thought, an American thing for a long time. Like NBC was big on the Wednesday night rivalry.
Yes. And
PSN actually did that too, actually, before Rogers had rights.
Wednesday is a good day for hockey because not a lot of other sports play Wednesday night games that are like marquee games. So it made sense.
It's like NBA, but like it's just the NBA and NHL on random weekdays.
Yeah.
So
Wednesday was a good day for that. But then like NBC would do things where they'd be like, join us for the epic rivalry of Dallas versus Anaheim, and it's like, what? I'm sorry, pardon me.
No, like it would be funny because the NHL would make a schedule, and then NBC was like, "All right, so we got the national rights for this game," and they're probably like, "So we're airing a game between Carolina and Winnipeg,
Colorado,
or Carolina, Colorado." And
they don't NBC broadcasting Canadian teams. Get out of here. That would never happen.
Okay, it would be like Nashville and I don't know, Florida, Nashville, and I'd be like Florida and Nashville coming up on the NBC rivalry, and I'm like, guys, just like give up. Like you don't have to pretend it's a rivalry. Just say it's hockey.
Rivalries make up the sport, and you'll just see just some random fight between like David Legwand and Dave Lowry. John Van Beesbrook,
Thomas Fleischman, something like that. We got Legwand on the Panthers, Fleischman on the Panthers. We know our old hockey players.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be something like that. Just I think they did end up changing it eventually. Just
they did. It became to just Wednesday
the rivalry thing clearly became too hard to keep up with.
It just became a running joke essentially for some people that watched it, and they were just like, "This is a rivalry, I guess."
Especially because they'd overlook games that actually have a rivalry in them. To play some like so many like Canadians Maple Leafs games they could have done, or like Alberta Battle of Alberta, but just because it's Canadian team, they don't want to do it. So they just like they would go be like, all right,
Canada.
All right, let's go Philly Coyotes. Let's go have fun. Like that would be it.
Speaking of morning games, the only thing I kind of enjoyed, at least when I was younger, sometimes they would have 9 a.m. like NBC games on national television that we could see here. Like it would always be American teams, obviously, but I'm like, hey, it's hockey.
I don't mind watching other people's teams play it.
Yeah, but I don't want my team to start at 9 or 10 a.m. Pacific.
Yeah, gross. Give me we better get the marquee games.
Give us marquee games, yes.
Yeah, I get, obviously Carolina and Washington, as far as like what the Canucks are concerned, it's not the big draw there. Especially because again, going into the season, the Canucks weren't expected to be anything. So it was like, oh, this game's probably gonna be just a big
externally, they were not expected to be anything. Internally, they were like, we're great. Yeah, we are gonna compete. And then they just sucked, and they're like, we don't understand why this is. We've tried nothing and we're out of ideas.
Yes. And thankfully we're far past that now.
Yes.
But the Hurricanes are going to provide a really good challenge for them. Cause I think the Hurricanes and the Canucks always play good games. Like, I don't know why I don't know why they'd bury this one at 10 a.m. because particularly I found lots of Hurricanes Canucks games are really good. And they're usually a pretty solid battle. Like going back to a couple games and like I remember a few years back there was like I think like a 7-5 game at one point. Like there've been a couple weird ones. There was the 1-0 game that went to OT when Pettersson won it against with Markstrom getting the shutout. And then there's the Capitals, which have Ovechkin, where like that game's going to be a game that people get up for regardless of how good the Canucks are.
He's almost guaranteed to score one against us too, given he's just scoring at a ridiculous rate.
I mean, I wouldn't be so sure. He actually has scored. We talked about this very recently. He scored less points against the Canucks than any other team.
You gotta remember also that's partially just because they only played one game per season before they changed the schedule format.
Yeah, but also Roberto Luongo notoriously had Ovechkin's number, and he could not score against Lou no matter what. Like it was, I think Lou gave him the most trouble of any goaltender. He could not score on him. True. So like we had everything going in our favor. It's like not even close to. I think it's like something where it's like it's ridiculous how many less goals he has against the Canucks than everyone else.
Now that I think about it, I do remember like watching like Washington Canuck highlights back from like 2009, 10, and like Ovi just was never scoring in those games.
Yeah, it took him he never could. He has had notorious trouble against Vancouver. So and I honestly think the Canucks could really give them, that would be a game where the Canucks are like ripe for the taking. They'll probably play Halak in that game. So that'll be interesting to see. It'll be Halak versus either Vitek Vanacek or Ilya Samsonov.
It's his bonus game, isn't it?
Getting
or is
there,
it one more after his next start? Okay.
The one thing that has
play.
Now they don't have to pay him right away, so it's not a huge deal. But you do lose some leverage the second you sign him. The second he gets to that 10, you lose that leverage with a team probably, or like benefit of the doubt kind of deal. With Vancouver, I think that against Washington they have a really good chance of taking that game. And just kind of because they're a bit younger, they're a little bit of a faster team than the Capitals are. I think they have the opportunity, as long as they stay disciplined, to like and not give OV any opportunities on the power play. Like I think they have a real shot of winning that game. I think with Carolina too, even like Carolina, they match up okay with. I think the Canes are going to give them trouble. I think as they do with everybody, the Canes are very good. But I like where the Canucks are at right now. They're confidence wise. I think they have a lot going for them, and they could catch up and surprise a few people.
Speaking of Washington, they're on a losing streak. How many games have they lost in a row? Actually,
I don't know.
Don't check.
They are. I don't know, 7. I don't know. We'll say 7.
No, it's not that long. They've lost 4 games in a row though.
Okay, I know one of them they got absolutely destroyed by Boston.
They did. That was their last game. They lost to the Boston 7-3. Before that, they lost to the Wild by 1 goal. They lost to the Blues by 4, and then they lost to the Devils.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Zach Fucali's played a lot of games for them.
Yeah, Zach Fucali, like one of the longest shutout streaks ever to start an NHL career, which is crazy.
Yeah,
takes me back to the World Juniors. Fucali.
Fucali. I think I don't know who's injured. Somebody's injured. I think it might be Vanacek. It might be Vanacek.
Yeah, Vanacek. When he went back to Washington. So Vanacek, and then who's the other goalie for them? It's not it's not Varlamov. No, he's
Samsonov.
Samsonov. Sorry, I know Varlamov was there a long time ago.
Yeah. He's
he's on the Islanders. Yeah,
is he still an Islander? Oh yeah,
I think he is. It's him and Sorokin as the goalies there.
Yes, he is. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And so also speaking of which, the Capitals will be on a back-to-back. They play the Islanders tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific, and then they play us.
Yeah.
So they'll be on the second of a back-to-back as well. It'll be interesting to look at that.
Okay. All right. So it'll be the goaltending, the ultimate goaltending battle of Zach Fucali
versus
Yaroslav.
Yes.
The game you've all been waiting for.
That's what NBC should push. If they put that game, it's like Fucali versus Halak.
Sports
experience versus inexperience.
Rogers hometown hockey with Zach. Today we're traveling to Slovakia to talk to Yaro Halak's family, and we're like they just fly the whole crew out to Slovakia.
No, it'd be really funny because if they did, the timing would be so bad. So it would be like 5 a.m. in the morning, and then it's just like, hello everybody, Ron McLean. It's just
a.m.
here, and then it's 2:30, and they're just watching hockey that's like being played in the morning in North America.
Actually, I guess
wonder
if
they
it was a
don't
10
do
a.m.
that.
game, it would probably be it'd probably be closer to a normal time. It would
It
probably be
would,
closer to like
technically.
7. It would probably be like 5
Yeah.
p.m., like 5 or 6. So it's like actually at a decent time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they've got I think as far as the rest of this road trip is concerned, just get a couple points in there. I'd like to
Get
see
a couple,
I'd like to
you
see
know,
Pettersson
yeah.
get back on the board. That is getting a little worrying.
Get
Like
Petey
I'm not at
going.
the I'm not at the I'm not at the very stupid it's time to trade
Ugh.
Pettersson thing because that's ridiculous.
Get that garbage off my timeline. I don't want to hear it.
It's dumb. It's beyond dumb. But like I am getting a little concerned about how little he's been scoring. Although, like, to be fair, in the Tampa game, he played really, really well. Like he played
Yeah.
well. He did I forget who said it, but like they're like Pettersson is doing everything he can to look like vintage rookie Pettersson without minus actually
scoring.
getting the points.
Yeah.
And that is important. Like it takes that step to get there sometimes. And like, yeah, I'm not again, I worry like just in the sense of like his confidence and how he's feeling about himself these days, because that kind of feels like that's the more important thing. Is
Yeah.
like, how are you feeling as the player? Like, are you comfortable playing right now? Are you feeling like are you feeling like you're making strides? Because whether or not
Yeah.
I do might be very different from how you're feeling as the guy taking the shot, as the guy getting the puck.
For sure.
So hopefully his confidence is feeling better as he goes.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's hard when you're a player and you go that long, as long as he has, in that kind of the limelight where it's known that you're struggling and it's known that you're not playing with the same kind of ability to take over a game the way you were not that long ago.
I would say one of these games he's bound to get a goal. Like I feel like at least in the next 3 games, like, and I don't want to say that like he's due for one because that's such a cliche, but he's playing the game the way, as you said, he's looking good with his rookie moves and everything. It's just the puck's not going in. And that's how the Canucks often operate. We see that a lot where all of a sudden it's like, hey, Canucks put a good effort, but we have these moral victories and everything. But the time for moral victories is over, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll say for me, they've gotten an extra, like they've earned an extra 5 because it's a new management team and a new coaching staff. Like it's kind of like okay, here's the customary 1, 2, 3, 4.
You get your,
like you get the starting pack. You get the starter pack. Everybody gets everybody gets a starter pack of get out of jail free cards here, or when you start off new as a new coach or a new GM, like I think you get some extra time just to start off with, but you burn them out if you keep losing, then you burn them out. So
my opinion is jaded just because I have gone through this many years with so many moral victory points that it just fried my brain. So when you hear me say there's no more tolerance for moral victories, take it with a grain of salt, but that's just my take, at least. I've read so many times where it's like Canucks lose another one, but they did this, and I'm like, but they didn't get a point.
But how about Matthew Highmore is the GOAT, guys. Let's do
Matthew Highmore. Trade's looking good. Is Goddard even still in the league? Is he on the Blackhawks
he was
still?
a senator. He was a senator.
Oh yeah, no, he was on the Sens. It's like, I completely forgot about that. And he scored against us once.
Yeah, he scored he pulled a Toffoli. He pulled a Toffoli against the Canucks. It was
see actually if he's still there. Because I haven't just even think about him right now.
Oh yeah, overall,
he's still on the Sens. He's played 10 games, so he's in between there and Birmingham on their AHL team. So I guess if Highmore is in the NHL, we won the trade. I don't know.
Yeah, close enough. Close enough. You know, I think it's one of those trades where nobody won. Maybe nobody won that trade at the end of the day. Yeah. Let's move on. Let's move on to some lighter news, I guess. The NHL All-Star Game. Rosters were announced. The Canucks are being represented by Thatcher Demko at this year's tournament, which is the correct call. I'm sorry, like I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's clearly gonna be Miller, it's gonna be Hughes," that kind of thing, or like one of those two. I think we're kind of like the expected. I was like, no, it's got to be Demko. He's literally your Hart Trophy candidate. He has to be there.
When you look at the goalies in the Pacific, you would solidify the opinion that Demko.
He's the best goaltender in the division right now. And it is really funny because I believe like the other option was like the Ducks are sending John Gibson. Yeah,
okay, that makes sense.
Which makes sense because he's always in that conversation for them, especially recently when they're not as good. But like. it is funny in hindsight. Like, what if it had been Markstrom and Demko? Like, if
That
they
would
had
have been
gone
funny.
together, I would have loved that. Honestly, I would have loved that.
There would have been some great like discussion, like just like tidbits during the game and activities for them representing the Pacific. They would have totally honed in on that. They've been like
I feel like
Demko and Markstrom reunited.
Markstrom would just be like, "So, young Padawan, you've returned." Like,
Yes,
they had a good working relationship. I think
did,
that
yeah.
I think they'd I'd fail to see that changing teams would change that much. But overall, okay. The Pacific Division. I'll just rattle them off here.
Yeah, I got them here too.
Let's see. We got Jordan Eberle, Leon Draisaitl, Johnny Gaudreau, John Gibson, Adrian Kempe, Connor McDavid, Timo Meyer, Alex Pietrangelo, and Mark Stone, and then of course Thatcher Demko as well. And then for the last man in ballot, JT Miller does have a shot of getting in. I think he might actually have a decent shot of winning that spot.
We've got 3 guys in the Pacific. We've got Miller, Troy Terry, rookie phenom.
There's 3 from each division, isn't it? One per team? Is it not
funny.
1 per team?
Oh, okay. No joke. This is off topic. I'm looking at the NHL's article on their website about last man in. They wrote Troy Terry twice. And like I can't. I see. So it looks like what? Yeah, no, it's like Troy Terry twice, and I can't. It's
good
so
for
weird.
him. Good for him.
Know.
They really
like,
want him. They really
There's a little blurb after the name and team, and so yeah, it looks like the 24-year-old forward is having a breakout season, leads Anaheim. But then you look at the next one, and it says Troy Terry. It says in addition to what Dan said, there. I see. So it's these writers with their opinion. Okay, I was not reading that right.
You're at the wrong. You picked the. You
I looked at the wrong as debated by NHL.com writers. Oops.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry.
But yeah, JT Miller is the Canucks representative. Every team gets one in the last man in vote. I think here's the thing. I think he might not have the public recognition to make it in. Like, especially when you look at some of the other options out there. Like, specifically, I'm looking at like Matthew Tkachuk. People know who Matthew Tkachuk is. People know Drew Doughty. JT Miller is kind of technically he's one of the highest scoring players in the league right now, but he's not like a marketed star the way that some of those other guys are. So I think it might be a little bit difficult for him to get in, especially in a 1 vote only.
In all of those, in looking at all those names, like even people that you haven't really mentioned, like Marcia Show and Giordano, their name brand recognition across the league is probably a little higher. Gio being with the Kraken and their captain, and Marcia Show being in the news for a lot of things in Vegas, complaining about refs.
Marcia So being Marcia So.
Marcia So, yeah.
He's being Marcia So.
That's a thing. I'm gonna make that a thing now.
You're gonna make that a thing.
I'll be like, how you feeling, Marcia So? I'll say that to you at school.
Yeah, Marcia. You're gonna have like Marcia So t-shirts coming out soon. But I think Miller deserves to be there, like for what it's worth. But I think in terms of like the All-Star game and everything, like just looking at the list, like it's kind of weird. It is weird the way they do it, where like there are some teams that like look, they don't deserve to have All-Stars here. Look at
I was hoping we would
division.
Get to this. Yeah,
like look
I'm in the Central there.
So in the Central Division, you got Kyle Connor, Alex DeBrincat, Kirill Kaprizov, Clayton Keller, Jordan Kyrou, Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, Joe Pavelski, UC Saros, and Cam Talbot. I'm just looking at that list and I'm like, okay, Clayton Keller how many points does Clayton Keller have? It's probably not
find
many.
out.
And
I'm clicking the link.
He's on a last place Coyotes team, like last with a mountain in between them and the next in the 20 and the 31st place team. Do the Coyotes really deserve to have an all-star at the game? He's got 26 points. It's not terrible, but
it's not that bad. I thought it would be way worse.
But it's not great either. It's like it's not great for an NHL leading goal scorer. Like, to put it in perspective, Miller's leading the Canucks right now, who've been doing,
Let me guess, does he have 36 points?
He does have 36 points.
Oh, and I was just guessing.
Oh, you were just guessing.
Well, I was like, I think it's mid 30s because I was like, Canucks, they haven't hit, any of them haven't hit 40 points, but that was just a guess.
Yeah, he is at 36.
All right.
And yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like necessarily the Coyotes deserve to have an all-star. at this game per se.
Yeah.
I think it's weird that they do it this way. Like in the same way that I'm like looking at some of like you look at like the Kraken, it's like, okay, the Kraken probably should have somebody there because they're the new expansion team. Like that makes sense. But like at the same time, you're like, okay, but JT Miller deserves to be there more than Jordan Eberle.
Exactly.
And he probably deserves to be there more than Adrian Kempe too. Like
Kempe's been good for the Kings, but I would say, yeah, no, I totally know what you mean. It's like you're looking to be like Kempe. This is not an all-star name.
The
This isn't a
Metropolitan is
household
sending
name.
the Islanders are sending Adam Pelech. Like what? How is he an all-star?
Ottawa is sending Drake Batherson. So there's multiple examples of this where you look at it and you're like, Batherson is an all-star. He has more points than Keller. He's got 29 points in 25 games. And all the other one that I was looking at was Nick Suzuki. The Montreal Canadiens are having a bad year, and Suzuki has 19 points. So I think he's probably the worst performance for all the all-stars that are guaranteed in so far.
The Sabres are sending Rasmus Dahlin. It's like, is he really an all-star?
Well, I mean, look,
Like,
what are his stats?
Like there are so many players you could list in here where you're just like, I don't see how any of these guys are really like, some of these guys are like all-stars in the way that they've been playing and their teams have been playing. And then you look at all the guys who are being left out. Like Sidney Crosby is not even is not even making it to the All-Star game this year, when it's like, okay, he's Sidney Crosby. He should still be there every single year, or at least in the conversation, right? And then, of course, people voted for like Alex Ovechkin as captain. Okay, the captain vote I'm not a fan of because everyone just votes for the same 4 players every single year. It's the dumbest thing in the world. Like it's always Ovi, McKinnon, McDavid, and then insert somebody else here, usually for the Atlantic. Or no, sorry, Austin Matthews. It's always those 4. I think it has been for the last 3 All-Star games.
Okay, so here's an idea. The NHL appoints someone who's almost guaranteed to make the All-Star game a captain, and then they pick their teams. Like, remember back in 2011 when we had like Alfredson versus, I don't even remember, where they had captains and they had the draft? Those are awesome.
How about they just do it organically again, like they did before, when people were allowed to vote for John Scott and for Rory Fitzpatrick?
Because we can't have fun things, Lachlan.
Because the NHL hates
don't you know?
fun.
Well, the NHL doesn't like the NHL
likes organized fun, and very scheduled fun.
We can't ruin the sanctity of hockey by voting for someone that we want to see in the All-Star game because they might be an awesome person, or the fact is they would never even have been in an All-Star game and we want them to have a fun experience. The NHL's like, you're making a mockery out of this. I'm like, I think you're making a mockery out of it yourself.
The All-Star game is? Don't you know how much it matters?
And the funniest thing was the whole Scott year. Because the NHL, if they had their way, they would have. If they had their way, the NHL All-Star game that year would have been the most boring thing imaginable. And it was in Nashville. Like, it would have been good either way because it was in Nashville, but it would have been it would have been tainted. People would be like, we were robbed of a great experience. And the NHL now looks at it and they're like, they like it because it's a good story.
They're like, I made this. Like,
no, yeah. It's like the fans are like, we made this. The NHL's like, you made this? And then they're looking at it's really John Scott being lifted up by his teammates. And he's like,
I made this.
I
made this. Like, that was them. Like, it's so dumb. At the end of the day, it's the All-Star game does not really matter in the grand scheme of things. I went to an All-Star game in 2019. It was fun. I will say, I think that I went to a bad All-Star game just in general. Like I should have known that the San Jose one was going to be tame.
The All-Star game whose logo was just an app icon would be tame. What?
It was just an app. Really underwhelming. Like, especially like looking at what they did in St. Louis, like the next year. I'm like, how come these guys got a way better All-Star game than we did? Their jerseys actually have color on them. How dare you?
Yeah, those All-Star jerseys in San Jose were one of the worst, I think, in the decade.
They were easily the worst. They had no color on them. I have one because it's from All-Star Weekend. And I'm like, why couldn't I have gone to like an All-Star game where they had they had colorful jerseys?
Yeah.
Like, this is the worst thing ever. I remember when they did it in
Carolina. Those were good jerseys, the red and the blue.
I like the jerseys this year. Like, I know some people aren't a fan of them, but like compared to like recent entries, I'm like, no, these are actually good. I like them.
I think they're good too. I think it'll be
They're
interesting when I
just
see the
very
ones with
simple.
they're nice and simple. I'm confused though a little bit because if are they doing the same format where it's the two Western divisions and the two Eastern, and then they play each other and then the winners play each other?
Yes.
Okay. And because it'll just be
And
interesting. I
then
guess they'll give jerseys to all of them because it seems like there's only 2 jersey designs. So
that's how they always do it. They always give you a 2 jersey. They always give the 2
okay.
and then
was interested
and
in
then if
more
2 teams wearing the same jersey like end
they
up
just switch up.
going to the finals, one of them
Okay.
switches.
Mhm.
Like overall again, like I'm not going to lose too much sleep over which NHL player really made it onto an all-star list because at the end of the day again it is so not for me. It's for
Yeah.
people who go to the game. Like that's really it only matters for the 20,000 or like 18,000 people in the arena who
there
go.
are people. Well, so this to go back to that whole like, why does the NHL require one person from each team? Like, if you're a team of like say Ottawa, and I don't know why you would put.
Are you
going
gonna care about an all-star game in Vegas? Like,
no, but like if it's closer, like say it's in Carolina or Buffalo or something, and if Buffalo ever became a good team again, I guarantee you they would get an all-star game because the fans and the atmosphere there can be really good. They just need good owners and Seattle too. I think Seattle would put on a really good show actually. But I would say like if you're a fan, like if you're having a crappy year, like at least you get to see one person from your team.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
it's meant
like
to,
some
it's
of the
just
best
to make sure it's like almost like a consolation prize of something, because like say you want to go, like say you're going to like that all-star game because it's close and you're like, this is great. Then your team has an absolutely catastrophic year and the NHL is like, all your players suck. We're not sending a single one. And even then, if there was a vote, like no one would vote for them.
I mean, like to be fair, like personally, I went to the All-Star game to get away from my terrible team. So I was like, might have, this is better.
That was
I
also a good year
only
too.
Elias Pettersson. I get to see the one guy worth seeing right now.
And also it gets also like players at least a little bit of brand recognition, at least and name recognition in those games, so they can say they have had all-star appearances. Like I'm trying to count the amount of first-time all-star
came out of the All-Star weekend. That All-Star
weekend.
Oh,
that was one of my biggest tweets ever. Yeah, I forgot about that. That was like one of the first times I went viral on Twitter. Yeah, it was like you know the tweet I'm talking about, right?
I don't know if I know it off by heart, but like I think I would know the picture where it's him like is he's like answering a question? Yeah.
Yeah. So it was I took
in the white shirt.
It was him. So I took a screenshot of when he got drafted, and his comparable was second line center. Something. It wasn't Bergeron. It was something else. It was like something really like kind of not, it was like something like and so then you do a crop version of that, and then you just pan to Pettersson. He's just like.
Yeah, it was like someone like really like really like
I'm gonna find it actually.
It's like somebody really low down on the totem pole of like good players. They're like, it's like, I don't know, this guy might be a regular Mike Sillinger, and you're like, and Pettersson's just like, like, you sure about that?
Well, I was gonna say also, so like in terms of first time all-star appearances, we've got 3 from the Metro, we got 4 from the Atlantic.
But like the best all-star game, like the best moments for some Canucks fans of recent memory were like Brock Besser winning MVP at All-Star Weekend in Tampa when he was having his big year.
There's 18 first-time appearances, including Demko, and I'm trying to think Makar. Like there's going to be players here that are making their first ever appearances, and they'll be back every year. Probably like Makar is one. I would say he's going to be back every year. And he might be the Adam Fox, I think, is the only one I would say would come back. The rest of them are kind of like Suzuki or DeBrincat. I think DeBrincat would be a pretty good one. But
Suzuki,
if they have a good year, but he was just the mandatory requirement for the Canadians this year.
I think he's a good player just in general. Like I think he is closer to stardom than like some of the other names on that list. Like. I think he's there. Like, even like for me, I'm like Dylan Larkin from the Red Wings. Like, really? Like, is he really a star these days? Like, he's just kind of like, I don't know. He's just kind of there. I'd rather see Nedeljkovic out of the Red Wings, or like one of those guys. Or Lucas Raymond or Moritz Seider. Like there's some way better choices than Dylan Larkin. Like, get out of here.
So here's the thing. Let's do a quick choice of what your last man is for each division, not the Pacific. We know it's JT Miller from both of us. So for the Atlantic, I'm going to give you a couple players and name the one for your choice. Charlie McAvoy, Tage Thompson, Lucas Raymond, Alexander Barkov, Tyler Toffoli, Brady Tkachuk, Steven Stamkos, John Tavares for Atlantic.
I mean, for the meme alone, I want Toffoli, but I think
Okay.
I think for if I'm picking for a real choice here, I think the obvious answer for me is Barkov.
Yeah.
Like Barkov is just such a good hockey player. He should be at an All-Star game every single year.
He's really
But
good.
like,
He's having a great year this year.
yeah. But like you can make obviously you can make a real that group in particular, you can make a good argument for a lot of the players on that list. Like Tage Thompson, no. Like I'm sorry.
No.
No,
So I would say the three that you could consider are Stamkos, Tkachuk, and Barkov. Raymond's had a decent year. He's kind of fallen off a little bit. Like I had him in fantasy. I picked him up early and he was great. And now he's really just slowed down. But it's Barkov to me, obviously.
Yeah.
I
think Raymond, even just for like the rookie, like I think rookies should get more or less a little bit more leeway to make it onto those teams.
True.
Because I think like the one thing that we should factor in as well is that like the All-Star game is kind of a snapshot of the year.
They could like go off like Besser
like,
did in 2019. Like you could get like Raymond and all of a sudden he has a hat trick and then he's
and usually the rookies try harder in the All-Star games because
the vets are just like
they're like, oh, this is so cool. Like they're having such a good time. Whereas like the Ovechkin might not even show up. Like I honestly
don't just skate around and they're like, I could be in Hawaii right now. Like I could be on vacation.
Like, wasn't there one player who actively campaigned last time not to get voted because he wanted to?
There's always players that are just like, please do not vote for me. I want my 5 days off
for me in this to go to this stupid event. Although, to be fair, this year it's in Vegas, so I think there's like
they'll want to go.
I think there's much more incentive for the players to go.
Some people were actually campaigning. I don't know if this was a big thing, but what would your thoughts be on making a permanent All-Star game in some place like Vegas? Not saying it has to be. Do you think the traveling escapade of like having an All-Star game everywhere makes more sense? Like in terms of like growing the game, I think it does.
Yeah, because the All-Star game, again, it's not for us. It's not for the TV audience. It's not for the players. It's for the fan bases that go to see it. Like it's
Fair
like
enough.
it's so those people can get it. It's so other markets can get an opportunity to host a cool big NHL party for all 32 franchises. Like it's for them. It's not for everybody else.
True.
Which is why it should go everywhere. I think the second you're like, oh, let's put the All-Star game in one city, I think you miss the point. Like it's just like okay, so it's just a random game in the middle of the schedule that we do for some reason. Like I think it needs to be. I think the traveling aspect and sending it to different markets matters. I want Vancouver to get it again. Let's give it back to us.
No, that would be great. 96.
It'll go to Seattle.
I think was the last time. No, I was gonna say. I was like, when is the next All-Star game? Like, where is it? I think
Florida.
So Florida has it. And
South Florida.
So wait, they're actually going to play it in Sunrise?
Yeah.
Is that because the NHL needs a picture of a full arena there for like evidence? Because I was just thinking, and I'm not trying to just like.
I mean, if they win the Stanley Cup this year, they might be able to fill that building out. They maybe.
Like no, and
maybe
I was
the first ever.
I was like, when the Tampa Florida playoffs were announced, I was like, Panthers, let's go. Like I really was hoping because I like them. At least as kind of a side team, but I was really mad when they lost in 6.
Yeah, I want them to win.
But I like to just imagine the NHL's like, yeah, we really need like a picture of like the sold out arena during a hockey game. So we're gonna hopefully imagine the All-Star game doesn't even sell out. Like that'd be kind of funny, but yeah, no, I would say after Florida gets it in 2024, things are on schedule. Seattle will get one for sure. And then after, it's kind of just a toss-up. They might go back to Toronto because it's been like 25 years or some reason to do stuff in Toronto.
Yeah, we shall see. Okay.
Do you want to do the thing still? I was going to give you the Metro division all last minute.
Yeah, I got him in front of me.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Who's your pick?
So my pick from the Metro is a little bit tougher. This is where it's like I'm looking at all of them. I'm just like, there's no one here I really like.
Can I give mine?
About sending?
Can I give
sure,
mine?
go ahead.
So I'm going to give mine to Gensel, partially just because the Penguins for a while were without Crosby and Malkin, and they've somewhat stayed pretty well stable with him at the helm and not being that top line. He's always been like that, one of those guys. Like it's so weird that the Penguins just find guys out of thin ice to
Mark Donkin, Buzz Flibbit. Yeah,
literally, they'll just find the most random player, and they'll be like, "Yeah, you're now a Crosby line mate," and they just
Evan Rodriguez, come on down.
Evan Rodriguez, like what the heck? Like he's
Yeah, I didn't
now
even.
scoring left and right. I'm like,
I'm
who
like,
is this
no,
guy?
you're not. I'm like looking. I'm like, you're not
You're an
real.
you're an
You're
NHL
fake.
12
You're a
generated
hologram.
player.
Yeah,
You're
you're
an
a
NHL 12
hologram.
generated player from like when you're in the draft like 10 years in the future. And then it's like I drafted Evan Rodriguez, 2nd overall, all like 4.5 potential.
I'm just gonna show up at a game in Pittsburgh, like when Evan Rodriguez play, or like for an interview with Evan Rodriguez, and be like, you see, it's all smoke and mirrors. You see, look, there's that. I bet you will find the Peppa's ghost over here, like the projection. Where's the projector? You're not real.
You're fake. Okay, so my choice is Gensel, and do you agree, or would you pick elsewhere?
I'd go. I think I'd have to. I think I'd go with Andrei Svechnikov. Like I think the Hurricanes are one of those teams that deserves like as many representatives as they can get because they've been so good this year. And I think Gensel's a good pick, but and then you know obviously there's the Barzal question in there. Like he's only has 22 points and he's kind of struggled
he's underperforming this year.
Yeah,
which sucks because I am a Barzal like fan.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, I just think yeah. All right, Central Kessel for the memes, probably not. But
no, absolutely no. The Coyotes deserve no one there.
Dang it.
I would take Coyotes away from. I would take Clayton Keller away from the roster if I could. It's Nazem Kadri. Like it's Kadri. He's got the guy has 48 points. Like
he has that many points. I knew he was like I knew he was in the convo just because he was like high. Like I thought he had 40, but he has 48 in 30 games.
He has 48 points, and he is not
the
an
Avalanche
all-star
high flying
somehow.
That is a lot
that's
of
the weird thing is that the Avalanche aren't doing particularly well this year. They're actually like 3rd, I think, in the division. Like they're not even like particularly like they're not crushing teams in their wake like they normally do.
No.
They've been pretty average for the Avalanche, but Kadri's just gone in this insane heater. Like they're 3 points behind the Predators for the division lead.
I'm looking to see their standing. Yeah, they're 22, 8-3 right now, but the Central is just heated. There's Nashville
full of good teams.
And Colorado, and then I'm trying to I don't have
Nashville like we all predicted.
Nashville just they're pulling guys on thinner. Tanner Ginot. Like who is this
Tanner
guy?
I have heard.
I picked him up in fantasy, and I was like, "Who is this guy?" And he's on a heater now.
I think I had him going. I expected him to get plucked by Seattle in the expansion draft, and then they didn't.
And then they picked everyone else.
Your boy Callie.
They picked everyone else that people were just like, I don't think they'll pick this, and they're like, no, we're gonna pick that guy.
It's like, why? Why would you ever do that?
And then Ron Francis is just like cap space. And then he proceeds to like just make moves that make no sense, like trade Vanacek back for a second and sign a really overrated Philip Grubauer to a huge contract.
Chris Driedger is going to be you laugh, but Chris Driedger is going to be really good for us forever.
I think Driedger's fine. I just think that I just really think that buying that much out of Grubauer was just I was like they probably were just off the high of an expansion team being like we want to perform well, and then Grubauer's just
they went in thinking Grubauer was going to be Marc-Andre Fleury, even though he does not have the same resume.
He was on a high-powered Avalanche team that really propped up his.
I thought Grubauer was going to be better for them than he has.
Oh, yeah. No, I think everyone expected him to be like good or like but he's been absolutely terrible.
But they did the stupid thing of not taking Kaapo Kähkönen and keeping Vanacek. They should have kept all the goaltenders. Their stupid thing was trading away the 2 young goaltenders. That would have been way better to have on your franchise long term than
Kähkönen would have been great.
Trigger, Decord,
he's been good this year.
Yeah, they could have had much better. Kadri is my pick for the clear choice for.
I was gonna say Robertson just because he's been a really good story in Dallas, but the Kadri points thing is just you can't argue against it. Like 48 points in 30 games, and he's not even on like the main roster. Like, come on.
He should have been the initial, but like he should be on the initial roster.
But McKinnon is, just the name.
But even McKinnon was like, "This is stupid."
Yeah, no,
McKinnon was like, "This is ridiculous. How is Kadri not there? How is Kadri not on the team?
Where's my boy Nazem? Come on."
Like,
NHL, what are you doing?
And he's correct to do so.
Yes.
And with that, I think that's this episode. I think that has been the CreaseCast for this Friday evening. Jacob, it's been a pleasure as always. Jacob, where can they find you on social media?
You can find me at JKM New on Twitter. I also have Instagram, and that's jacob.km.new.
Yeah, you were JKing about the initial handle, and now you're
my one regret on social media is that I should have had my handle, and no, I should have done JKLMNEW, because my initials almost form like actual order of the alphabet. You just need to throw. I'll just ask my parents, or I'll add another middle name.
I'll just change my name.
No, I'll just be like Jacob Kirkland Larry.
Or you can do what I do. Do you know my middle name?
No, I don't.
I'll give you a hint. It starts with the letter J.
Okay, I'm trying to think here. Lachlan.
I'll give you.
Lachlan Jacob Irvin.
No.
I was just that's why I thought it was J.
No. The answer is it is just the letter J. My full middle name is just the letter J. Like not even J-A-Y. It's just the letter J. No, I'm not kidding. It's because
was that a mistake on the birth certificate?
No, it was purposely done. My two grandparents are Joe and John, and my parents didn't want to put one name over the other, so they just went with the letter
They didn't want to be
honestly,
like, they don't like picking favorites, I see.
Yeah, they didn't want to pick favorites, so they were just like, okay, funny. J, the letter J. It's literally the Homer Simpson thing.
Oh my goodness.
My name is Homer J.
No wonder you
Simpson.
Are such a Simpsons fan.
That's
literally.
That's
why. That's hilarious.
I see the pictures coming clear.
Yeah.
And
where can they find you?
Oh yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Lach in the Crease. Make sure to, if you enjoyed the show, to go to subscribe and leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Make sure to subscribe on our YouTube channel if you like the video versions. We also do other things on our YouTube channel now, including play video games. I've been doing that lately. We have a big Stanley Cup final from 1995 coming up between the Canucks, the 95 Canucks, and the 95 Florida Panthers for some reason. That's going to be on our Twitch, twitch.tv/CreaseCast if you want to check that out.
Yeah.
If you want to check that out live, but we post all the uploads onto the YouTube channel after for you to see later. What else is there? Oh yeah, if you really enjoyed the show, make sure to check out our Patreon. We got $1 and $5 tiers where we're going to be bringing back the division power rankings. That's going to be coming back specifically just for Patreon people. And then also you can find my writing work over at canucksarmy.com. I write there pretty darn frequently. And with that, thank you guys so much for listening. Cody will be back doing the show on Monday. Oh yeah, that reminds me. You can check out Cody's work at ahlnucksharvest.com, and you can find him at Cody Sievertson on Twitter. Yeah, now with that ends the CreaseCast. We'll be back on Monday after the Canucks are mostly done their road trip. They're at least part through the morning games of the weekend. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Please keep wearing masks and get your booster shots if you can. Thank you guys. See you later.
See ya.